Past midnight on the line of control, the first missiles cross the border. Indian Rafales and Su-30 MKIs are airborne within minutes. Pakistani F-16s and JF-17s rise to meet them. Two nuclear-armed nations, more than 1 billion civilians caught between them, have just started a 72-hour clock. And the only question that matters now is how close they come to the one line no one can walk back from. Shells arc through the darkness, tracing invisible lines across the high ridges of Kashmir. The line of control, a jagged scar carved by decades of suspicion, erupts in a chain reaction of artillery, rockets, and urgent radio calls. At these altitudes, every outpost is exposed, with watchtowers perched on icy slopes, bunkers dug into shale, and artillery batteries waiting for coordinates. Sensors and spotters scramble to make sense of the chaos, but in the confusion of night, a single misread radar blip can trigger a barrage. The ground shakes as both sides unleash firepower designed to overwhelm, not just to warn. The line of control is more than a border. It is a tripwire, crowded with forward observers and heavy guns, each one a potential spark for something larger. In these first minutes, the chain of command stretches thin. Orders lag behind the speed of incoming rounds. Political leaders in Delhi and Islamabad are forced to rely on fragmentary updates, knowing that every delay raises the risk of miscalculation. Both militaries have rehearsed for this moment, but the reality is more chaotic than any drill. Verification collapses in the dark. Every explosion is reported as a possible escalation. Every intercepted communication treated as a threat. The world's attention narrows to this narrow strip of mountains, where two nuclear-armed rivals, locked in rivalry since 1947, now face the question of whether the first response can still be contained. Over 1 billion civilians live within range of the next decision. The true danger is not who fired first, but how quickly the logic of retaliation can outrun control. Jets lift off before dawn. Indian Air Force crews scramble Rafale, Su-30 MKI, and Mirage 2000 fighters, armed for precision strikes and electronic warfare. Tankers and Netra early warning planes form a shifting radar net overhead. Across the border, Pakistan's JF-17s, F-16s, and Mirage variants taxi out, engines glowing in the dark, ready to intercept or strike. There is no pause for negotiation. The first response is airborne, not diplomatic. Both commands understand that AIR superiority is now the central prize. If one side controls the sky, the other's ground forces and supply lines are exposed. Opening attacks focus on air defense radars and missile batteries. Indian strike packages fire anti-radiation missiles to blind Pakistani surface-to-air missile sites. Each attack triggers a counter. Pakistani pilots, trained for rapid dispersal, fly low to evade radar, launching H-4 glide bombs and air-to-air missiles at Indian positions. Radar screens fill with fast-moving contacts. The 2019 Balakot crisis proved how quickly a single strike can trigger dogfights and reciprocal raids. Now, with more aircraft in the air and orders racing ahead of information, the crisis passes the point where political leaders can easily pull back. Aircraft are lost. Each loss hardens public positions and fuels calls for retaliation. Escalation becomes its own logic. As dawn breaks over the Punjab plain, the war shifts onto open ground where speed, mass, and supply lines decide the tempo. Here, the horizon stretches flat and unbroken, offering no shelter, only the promise of rapid advance or sudden destruction. The Lahore-Amritsar axis becomes a corridor of risk and opportunity. its roads and bridges now the arteries for armored columns and convoys of fuel trucks. River crossings like the Ravi and Sutlej turn into choke points, where a single destroyed bridge can stall an entire offensive. India's logic is ruthless in its simplicity. Move fast, move shallow, and seize ground before world powers can force a ceasefire. Armored divisions, T-90s, Arjuns, and mechanized brigades push forward, aiming to break through Pakistani defenses within hours. The objective is not to conquer cities, but to grab leverage, vital logistics nodes, key highways, and crossing points that can be traded at the negotiating table if outside pressure arrives. Every hour matters. Delays hand the initiative to Islamabad. Pakistan answers with layers of defense in depth. Engineer units race to lay anti-tank ditches and minefields along likely approaches. Artillery batteries, pre-sighted on open ground, fire in coordinated barrages to slow the advance. Reserve armored brigades stand ready behind the front, waiting for the moment to counterattack once Indian spearheads outrun their supply lines. The plan is to absorb the first blow, trade space for time, and force the attackers into a war of attrition on Pakistani terms. Artillery becomes the language of the land battle. Shells and rockets rain down on advancing armor, while counter-battery radars hunt for enemy guns. Both sides know that every kilometer gained or lost in these first hours could decide not just the map, but the pace of escalation. The race is not only against each other, but against the clock, and against the looming shadow of international intervention. By the second day, the war's reach extends far beyond the front. Indian strike aircraft, loaded with BrahMos cruise missiles and Spice-guided bombs, target Pakistani air bases as far as Sargodha and Masroor. Runways buckle, hangars erupt in flame, and fuel depots vanish in seconds. Pakistan responds with Babur cruise missiles and H-4 glide bombs, aiming for Indian command centers, radar sites, and supply convoys deep in Punjab. Each side tries to blind the other, to paralyze the chain of command before the next wave can be launched. But the air isn't the only battlefield. Blackouts roll across cities and military hubs as power grids are targeted by precision strikes and sabotage. Communications fracture, field commanders lose contact with headquarters, and rumors of breakthroughs or disasters race ahead of facts. In the fog of war, a single destroyed relay can isolate an entire brigade, while a missed message can turn a tactical pause into a rout. India's advantage in numbers, more tanks, more fighters, more men, should tip the balance. Yet every gain brings a new risk. Pakistan's doctrine doesn't promise victory in the field. It promises to make any defeat unbearable. The logic is not about territory, but about thresholds. As Indian columns push deeper, Pakistan's National Command Authority meets in secure bunkers, the Strategic Plans Division tracking losses and watching for the moment when conventional options run out. India's no-first-use nuclear policy remains in place, but the shadow over every war room grows longer. The closer Indian forces get to critical Pakistani nodes, the more urgent the debate becomes. How much can be lost before the unthinkable is considered? The war is no longer about who advances or retreats, but about how close each decision brings both sides to the edge. The line between conventional and nuclear war is not a wall. It is a warning, growing fainter with every hour. Diplomatic channels burn with urgency as the third day dawns. The war has not delivered a decisive blow. No city has fallen. No command center has been destroyed beyond repair. Instead, both militaries face exhaustion, battered supply lines, and the creeping realization that every new strike risks crossing a line that cannot be uncrossed. In Washington, National Security Council staff work the phones, relaying messages to Delhi and Islamabad that the world is watching, that the next move could close the window for restraint. American envoys remind both governments of the 2019 crisis, when a single downed pilot nearly triggered a wider disaster. The White House drafts a Security Council resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire, just as it did in past Indo-Pakistani wars. But this time, the nuclear arsenals are on alert, and the stakes are measured in minutes. Beijing, too, moves quickly. Chinese diplomats reach out to Islamabad and Delhi, warning that further escalation could threaten regional stability and jeopardize vital trade routes. The message is blunt. Restraint is not just a request, but a necessity. China's leverage is real. Economic ties, military support, and the memory of past interventions all weigh on the decision-makers. In both capitals, war rooms fill with intelligence reports and casualty estimates, but the most important data is the status of the nuclear command authorities. Pakistan's National Command Authority meets in secure bunkers, reviewing losses and the readiness of tactical nuclear units. India's Political Council of the Nuclear Command Authority debates the credibility of its no first-use pledge under mounting pressure. UN observers scramble to deploy along the line of control, relaying fragmented updates to New York. Ceasefire mechanisms tested in past wars are activated again. Hotlines, stand-down protocols, and emergency Security Council meetings. Yet neither side can claim victory. The front lines are scarred, but not redrawn. Civilian displacement climbs, power grids flicker, and the world waits for a signal that the spiral will stop. The final choice rests with the leaders in Delhi and Islamabad. Stand down now, or keep climbing the escalation ladder. The true outcome of these 72 hours is not measured in territory gained, but in how close both sides have come to catastrophe. In the space of 3 days, command slips as missiles cross borders and leaders gamble with fate. The real weapons are time and uncertainty, but the nuclear threshold is never far. Today, the clock still ticks. Every hour without war is a choice. Every miscalculation risks the unthinkable.